State House and take it over unconstitutionally. So that is the context in which I respond to this statement, Mr. Chair. In the process of those unprecedented demonstrations, acts of violence and extensive destruction of public property and private property, I have been asked to say how many people were arrested during that period. 1,208. Number two, I've been asked to state during those June, July riots, how many people lost their lives? 42. Thirdly, I have been asked to give an account of any unaccounted or unidentified bodies which could be in public mortuaries arising out of those unprecedented events of June and July 2024. 2. The number is 2. And finally, I have been asked to inform this committee, and by extension Parliament, how many people were reported missing during the June, July violent riots across the country. 132. And therefore, other than those statistics, the second part of that request for statement by the member for Elgeyo was to, I think more or less I've answered everything, but I think there is one part there which says, actually I've answered everything. Part 1 to 4, I submit.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, Chair. Obviously, the statement is extremely underwhelming, does not even attempt to answer all the questions asked. Honorable Chair, if you look at number 2 of the statement, first of all, in fact, it was a list of the names of those who lost their lives during the demonstrations across the country. The good Waziri has simply given us statistics. These statistics is not stones, they are human beings. If you know the number, ought surely to know the names of these people who lost their lives. Number 2, Honorable Speaker, it is again unfair for the minister to indicate the government has got no policy of abduction and false disappearances. It has been common knowledge because these 132 members who are missing, where are they? They can't just miss out, cannot just disappear in thin air, and yet this is a country of Kenya. We have extensive security network in this country. Where are these people and who are they? They must have been reported. Whoever reported must have indicated who their names are, their ID numbers, and any form of identification. It will do good for this country, Honorable Speaker, Chair, if the Cabinet Secretary could be forthright and give us information, because I'm sure this is not classified information. Those who have died have been buried. Those who are missing have been reported and they are in the OB. It's not, it's not state secret. Probably if he answers that, you'll allow me to answer to request further questions, Chair.
Anybody with a follow-up question to regarding the same? If none, we'll let the minister.
Honorable Chair, I, to some extent, agree with the member on the adequacy of that response. And you will notice, Honorable Chair, that yesterday I had my office had forwarded a statement which we asked to amend by the current statement that we submitted this morning. And the reason for that adjustment is as follows, that as I have said, the number of those who died is 42. But that statement had identified up to 30 of the deceased. So what I asked the police to do, I think it was just like, because the information is there, it has always been there. These numbers and who died where, in what circumstances, the context in which they died, some by bullet, others by mob, etc. That information is there. So I discovered that the information given was up to case number 30. So I asked them to update the other 12, because death is a legal consequence. And therefore, what I will be pleading with this committee is to be given 24 hours. You already have the statement that has up to 30 of the deceased. The other 12 could be provided as supplementary information in 24 hours. As I have said many times, the government of Kenya has nothing to hide. If a Kenyan died, we cannot hide the fact that a Kenyan has died. What we need to do is to find out the circumstances under which the Kenyan died and ensure that if there is culpability or culpability by any person, including a security official or a law enforcement agency, justice is served, because the law does not allow death outside what is permitted in law. To that extent, I agree the incompleteness of that response, and I beg for 24 hours to again supplement with a more detailed information that includes the last 12 of the cases that were not included in the list which I had forwarded already to the committee yesterday. Secondly, the member has talked about the policy. He believes that government has a policy on abductions, and I disagree with the member with a lot of respect. It is not true, because policy has to be stated, it has to be articulated. Policy cannot be, it's not nebulous, it's not abstract. I, as the minister who is responsible, and including the president himself, have made it clear in public, in private, in all forums, that this administration does not condone abductions or extrajudicial killings or enforce disappearances. So it is unfair to visit a policy of extrajudicial killings on government unless we are provided with the evidence of policy pronouncement, policy articulation that supports this kind of unlawful behavior. And going forward, I think the challenge we have, Chair, as a country, is just to make sure that anybody who breaks the law, even if they are law enforcement people, they are brought to account. And I think in the spirit of the national, the police, and other security sector reforms which we have initiated, I want to promise Kenya that we will rein in on any excesses by law enforcement officials to use weapons that are bought with the taxes of the people of Kenya outside the law, to harm the people of Kenya, to kill the people of Kenya, or even to arrest them in a manner that is inconsistent with the Constitution. In a nutshell, this government, and I say without fear of contradiction, does not condone extrajudicial killings, does not condone abductions by any person, whether a criminal or a law enforcement agency. Lastly, the member has asked about the missing persons. Again, the supplementary list will contain the OB number and the people who are reported missing per county. I think Nairobi has the highest. Nyandarua, I think, was the highest. Nyandarua had 13 cases reported. But what I want to inform the committee chair through you is that it is not scientifically correct to say that when someone is reported missing, they have been abducted. It is also not scientific to say that if a missing person report has been made, then that person has been abducted because they were participating in a demonstration. We have had a problem in this country for the last so many years of persons who are reported missing. Some of them have been traced eventually after months, others after weeks, others after years, others have never been found. And therefore, while we got some missing person reports from actually across the country, incidentally, including some of the parts of the country where the demonstrations were not violent or were not even present. And that breakdown per county is provided. And therefore, with the great respect to the committee, I want to submit, Chair, that again, just like the cases of the deceased people, those who died, though those who are reported missing, we continually to look for them, to trace them, and we are appealing for information that can help us trace them. And it is the business of the police to make sure that the country is safe and people are protected from criminals, and it cannot be the policy of this government to support any harm on any Kenyan for politics or for whatever reason, because that would violate our constitution. I submit.
Finally, Chair, just on the same issue, Waziri, a number of these people who were killed, the 42 according to your record, even though normal media and through ISK and other LSK and other organizations say the number is much, much higher. Actually, yesterday in the news, they talked about 61 cases, and several numbers are still missing up to now. You have admitted quite a number of these so-called people who were killed by bullets. And obviously, those are police bullets. And obviously, you must have a traceability mechanism to know who was assigned what gun, what kind of ammunition was assigned. Is it possible to trace and follow up and know exactly which police officer shot any particular member of these 42 who have died? And that being the case, having been killed, as we have clearly said, weapons bought by the people of Kenya, what measures have you put in place to ensure the bereaved families, the families who lost loved ones, their breadwinners, their hopes in life, what measures has the government put in place to compensate, even assuage or relieve their pain? What measures has the government put in place? Thank you, Chair.
Chair, I would like to respond to the further intervention by the honorable member as follows. That I have not admitted that any Kenyan was killed by the police. What I said is that some died because of bullet wounds. The process of proving the owner of the gun that discharged a killer bullet is a forensic process. And I am not ruling out the possibility that a police officer may have used their firearms outside the law. But just 2 comments there, Chair, which I honestly believe are in the best interest of the country for me to say at a time like this one, when we are grappling with serious balances. On one hand, we have a country to keep safe from crime, and on the other hand, we have also a country that has a constitution that gives wide-ranging liberties, including civil liberties. I want to say these 2 things. That firstly, Chair, police are allowed to use lethal force. Let's start from there. Police are allowed to use lethal force to kill, depending on the circumstances. There are parameters. Those firearms are supposed to neutralize dangerous criminals who pose danger either to the life of a police officer themselves or to the lives of the people. And I think that's a general principle. I am not trying to say that any of these cases fitted there. I'm just saying that the law allows the police to use lethal force. The question that the pursuit of justice must help us to answer is whether, if there is any police officer who used their weapon, whether that use was within the parameters permitted under the law. If they were not within the parameters, then that police officer must be held accountable. And I know I have been briefed, IPOA is already at an advanced stage of doing that investigations. It requires forensics. You can trace the bullet to a gun and the license, who owns that gun. The second point, and while I'm at that on the police use of force, I would like to, if you look at, for example, what happened in America on January 6, 2020, which, well, remotely could be similar to what we had, maybe not exactly, because those characters who came to Parliament were not coming for fun. Many of you members were there. They were not coming for fun. They were coming to burn down Parliament and kill people, basically. They were not coming to demonstrate and ask for the finance bill not to be passed. They were coming to cause grave harm. In fact, 2 days after that event, after we frustrated the effort to burn down Parliament and kill members, we arrested a suspect at 4 a.m. outside Parliament carrying fuel, intending to go and raise down the premises of Parliament. So the action we took on that day, therefore, and I'm not preempting the investigations, some lives were lost in the process. But I wanted, again, to be fair to our democracy, to compare that with what happened in the US on January 6, 2020, the attack on Capitol Hill, which was actually an attack on American democracy, forced the Senate of the US to make certain decisions and use violence, including harming people, to make a political statement. Lives were lost in that country, but they have never discussed that matter. No media, no person has discussed the lives that were lost on Capitol Hill to protect the American democracy. So that contextualization is extremely important. And Chair, I will not pretend, as the country's security minister, I hold the very strong view that for this country to remain sustainable and for our democracy to function, we must, within the Constitution, make sure that the institutions established under our Constitution are protected, because if we overthrow constitutional institutions like Parliament, judiciary, the executive, we have no country. The things we are discussing here, we will not have even this discussion where a parliamentary committee is grilling the security minister, because the country will not be there in the first place. So that is the first contextual matter I wanted to bring. And it is not true to argue or to submit that the police officer cannot use force. If we never applied force on that fateful day in Parliament, we will be talking about a different Kenya, a different scenario. The second and last issue, Honorable Chair, through you, is on the fact that somebody has been shot is not conclusive evidence that they have been shot by a police officer. It's not conclusive. Maybe there's a presumption that that bullet is the bullet of a police officer, but as a person who has practiced law for a quarter of a century, I can say this without fear of contradiction. The fact that somebody has died through a bullet where police officers were trying to control a crowd is not conclusive proof that that person has been killed by a police officer. And that's why the justice systems must help us establish the truth without shielding anybody. If a police officer went outside the law, they must be held accountable. To demonstrate my point, Rongai. In Rongai, we lost, to my mind, I think 2 people. And others were injured. What happened is that criminals invaded somebody's supermarket and started hurting people, and some were stabbed, workers, shoppers, etc. 2 police officers were guarding Equity Bank next to the supermarket. And they were armed. And the law allows a police officer to enforce the law, not necessarily where you are on duty that day, but if you realize there is breakdown of law and order, it is the duty of the police to protect the public. So these 2 officers tried to contain that invasion of that supermarket and the injury that was being visited on shoppers and so forth. They were only 2, but the crowd was massive. What happened is the criminals actually overpowered them. They took the gun, and one of them, they took the 2 guns, and one of the person who overpowered them actually started shooting at the crowd. So in the process, I would assume, of an investigation, it is possible that perhaps these officers, as they try to contain this situation, could have shot somebody. That is one hypothesis. But the other hypothesis is that the criminal who overpowered these officers actually and removed their uniform and started shooting at the crowd could have used a police gun, but is a criminal to kill someone. And of course, these are things that require scientific proof. So the presumption could be it is the police officer, but it could be rebuttable by evidence. And that's why we need to be careful and not condemn law enforcement officers wholesale, but we must condemn individual law enforcement officers who use weapons outside the law. And the only sure way of ascertaining that is through the processes of justice, which are slow and painful, but eventually they lead us to the truth.
You're done, Waziri?
Yes, Chair, I submit.
Yeah.
And in some of the riots, there were private people with firearms. In some cases where we had huge crowds, there were people with firearms inside crowds. So I'm not just defending my officers. I'm also saying they need to be given the benefit of doubt, and otherwise we will lose the morale of our security agencies. And next time there's an attack, they'll say, okay, there's an attack, Parliament, sort out yourselves. God forbid. I submit.
Members were aware that, of course, we have got quite a number of the rest of the 6 of the question. I think we can leave at that, and I think the minister has taken undertaking to furnish this committee with the total number of Kenyans who were added to the list of 30. So you had asked for 24 hours?
Reply by tomorrow such a time, by tomorrow noon.
Thank you so much. Of course, the document will also be the document of the House, and it will be tabled in Parliament. Thank you so much, our brother Window, and a lot of regards from the member who did ask the question, actually, Ocheng. He said he was your student at some time, confided to me.
I hope I did a good job.
Yeah, seemingly yes. Yeah, actually dropped a lot of accolade. Now, kindly go to the second question. We have got hardly 1 hour to tackle the rest of the 6.
Honorable Chair and honorable members, thank you. The second matter, as guided by the Chair, is the question on insecurity in Fafi constituency. And here I've been asked by the member for Fafi, the Honorable Yakub, to explain reasons why the government is downgrading security levels by discharging 16 National Police Reservists in Fafi, in Bura East sub-county, who are discharged on 6th August 2024. The second issue is that why 17 NPRs who are volunteered to support our security agencies who are dealing with counter-terrorism there have not been armed, yet they are ready to support the security formations there. Then what actions we are taking to enhance security in the constituency, and then also, finally, whether we have a record of abductions by Al-Shabaab or even by security agencies. I would like to respond as follows, that the issue of National Police Reservists is guided by the National Police Service Act, and it provides that the role of NPRs is to support the National Police Service as a reserve, and they can be assigned to support Kenya Police or Administration Police in all the areas that the police have mandate on. And this is preservation of peace, protection of life and property, prevention and detection of crime, apprehension of offenders, and enforcement of laws and regulations of our land. Now, the functions of the work of the National Police Reserve is to support the police, the full-time police deployment. But the Act also provides that NPRs must remain under the command and control of the police formation commanders. And this command has been delegated by the Inspector General of Police to the sub-county police commander, formerly known as OCPDs. They are the commanders of all the police in that sub-county, including NPRs. The Act also subjects NPRs to discipline, just like other police officers. And therefore, issues of command and control and discipline are of the NPRs is still with the Inspector General of Police, delegated to the sub-county police commanders. So the particular number of officers, NPR officers who were discharged, as the member correctly has pointed out, were discharged in exercise of the command, control, and discipline procedures of the National Police Service vested on the Inspector General. And they were replaced. In that sense, it takes me to the second part of the question. The second part of the question is saying there is already another 17 who wants to be NPRs. And why have they not been armed? And I want to respond as follows. It is not enough to volunteer that you want to be an NPR. That's not the end, it's the starting point, because the NPRs actually are voluntary support formation for the police. We just once in a while give them a small stipend, and we are trying to see how we make that a bit more determinate. But once there is need for NPRs, as is the case here in Fafi, there is a process of vetting. After vetting, training. After training, the arming, that is equipment, and then now they are deployed. So that process is ongoing. We have not refused to deploy, but we will need first to complete the vetting, do the training, which takes sometimes 4 or 5 weeks, and then after that they are armed and then deployed. So we will be doing that shortly. And then thirdly, the member wanted to find out what we are doing in Fafi to strengthen the security there. And I want to accept that Ijara Fafi has really given us a lot of challenges in the last almost 1 year, maybe more, the last 3 years. We've had challenges, security challenges there, and our formations in the northeastern region are adjusting to make sure that we detect where the leakages are and where the gaps are. You know, we have a porous border. Up Mandera, we are trying our best to minimize incursions and cross-border threats. But down on the Garissa side, we have a challenge there. And right now, those two areas, Ijara, Fafi area, is problematic. So what we are doing, Chair, is we are increasing the presence of special forces, what we call formed up units, mainly the RDU, the Rapid Response Deployment Unit, the SOG, the Special Operations Group, and other elite special forces that help us to keep the country free from the threat of terror. We have challenges, and that's why as Security Committee we continually request you to support us with a security budget, because unlike normal ordinary policing, the fight against terrorism and other organized crime like banditry requires very highly trained and highly equipped intelligence-based security deployments, quite expensive. And to train these special forces requires a lot of resources. And I'm glad we are making good progress. And I think even today we'll be receiving a little more from in the SOG, which is the most sophisticated and the most effective fighting force this country has, of very patriotic and sacrificial police officers who have given their all to protect us. So we intend, we have a small graduation, and members may want to know that we recruit about 2,000, but those who finish are 100. From 2,000, those who will finish the 6 months specialized training are 100 or thereabout. It's very rigorous. But then what that 100 does is equal to what 10,000 would do in ordinary circumstances. So Fafi, Ijara, I admit, we need to add a few more elite intelligence-led units which can help us address the current situation there. We have registered a lot of progress in Boni Enclave for the last 18 months. And we hope eventually, even against the fight against banditry, where we are 75, 80% done, we are left with 20%. The solution will be in the special forces that will help us get these criminals who have hurt the people of Kenya for a long time. So we are working on that. And of course, we want to involve the communities. That is the last part of the answer. We want to work now with communities to build support for the fight against terror, so that it's not just security-led, government-led. We want to involve communities. NPRs is one entry point, but we want also broader support from elders, and I think we are working on a program between the relevant agencies, National Police Service, National Intelligence Service, and the rest of us. We are trying to work on a program for a more community participatory counter-terrorism and this problem, we should get rid of it in a permanent manner if we continue with the current measures we are taking, I submit. We do not have, of course, every missing person, we have a record. And again, if we are asked to supply information, which we want asked this time, we can supply the people who's have been reported missing. But our forces do not abduct people, they should not abduct people, but they are highly trained on how to handle counter-terrorism. Very sophisticated, very delicate, without harming innocent members of society. I submit.
Are you done, Waziri? Okay, the member for Fafi is here. He can go on record and maybe say clarification from the minister before we open for the rest of members.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. My name is Salah Yakub, Member of Parliament, Fafi constituency, Garissa County. Chair, with your indulgence, I really want my queries to be sort of interrogative, not one-off questions. And I want to congratulate first hand the CS for being reappointed. I'm happy that he's back to the docket for continuity purpose. I'm not satisfied in the sense that the answers given by the CS were not to my expectations. I wanted numbers, I wanted figures, I needed some more clarifications. To start with, the CS said the 16 members were replaced. The CS said the 16 members were discharged as a result of disciplining and the acts. I want to start by asking the CS, does the CS know where these 16 NPRs were located exactly or placed exactly in Bura East? Bura East has two divisions, Bura East Division and Galmagala Division. Can the CS tell me where exactly were they working? That's my first question, as interrogative sort of.
Honorable Chair, that was not part of the request. Deployment of NPRs is the work of the Inspector General. It's not the work of the Minister. The Minister directs the Inspector General on general policy issues, like some of which are being raised here. For example, an area requires NPR. You know, I could tell the IG, please, this is the request, can you now deploy? He deploys.
Thank you, CS. Thank you, CS.
Let me explain myself, because we are on record, because it's not a courtroom, so that we get this right. The issue of, for example, which NPR is posted where, that is the work of the IG, and it normally delegates that to the sub-county commander.
Thank you, CS. If I may help you, the 16 were working at the Galmagala Division. And that's why I told you I don't see the facts down there. And I asked a question of down scaling. I wanted the CS to give me more facts. I know it's a policy, but I wanted him to get facts from the IG. If I may help you, Bwana CS, the 16 were in Galmagala Division. The total number of NPRs in Galmagala were 21. 21 in number. Recruited 2013. On August 6th, 16 of them were let off. You said disciplinary. The letter of discharge doesn't say anything about that. It just said, we, referring to the letter of appointment, we have now discharged you. So I want an explicit answer telling me they were discharged on that. So do you have an explicit answer as to why they have been discharged? Was it discipline? Because that's a downscaling.
No, I don't have the answer. Maybe you can call the IG.
Bwana Waziri, as much as, of course, as clearly put, the CS not only advises or supervises the IG on matters policy, but considering that this is a question that was asked by the member in Parliament, I can understand he's trying to say that the IG is supposed to have furnished the CS with the answer. And when Waziri, knowing that, of course, Fafi is one of the most troubled constituencies areas in this country, I think it will have been just fair enough to really go down, get to know exactly what necessitated the discharge of this NPR, considering these are volunteers that in any way are not even probably having, putting a cost on the government, and they are doing a good job. And I'm sure by the time they were recruited, they may have gone through, or they must have gone through the vetting. So kindly, if probably the IG did not, we can still allow you to get more precise, accurate answer for the member, so that at least we can really get the answers we sought.
Point of order, Chair. Chair, in terms of parliamentary procedure, we ask the minister, the CS, to appear before the committee, because the CS is the overall, both in policy and supervision of a ministry. A departmental head can give that information to the CS. And I thought you should clarify, Chair, the point the honorable member was bringing up, and the response from the CS that that is not his work, it should be asked to the IG. I think it is not in order. Maybe, Chair, you could clarify that so that additional information, if it's not available, the CS should be able to get from the officers.
I think I've given a direction. When I say, I think in due fairness, it should have been fair to
I
say
have
that
no
you have not
problem
been
getting
furnished.
the information
Yeah.
from the IG. I was just talking like a good student of constitutional law. Article 245 of the Constitution. Only two people can direct the IG. One is DPP on matters of investigation. The second one is the Interior Minister on matters of security policy. That is paragraph 3 and 4. Then 5 goes on to even say, notwithstanding these directives, no person may direct the Inspector General on the recruitment, assignment, promotion of any particular officer. So I just wanted to say that I have that constitutional contour to manage, but generally I have the information, I can get it. I have very good working relations with the IG and everybody else, and I don't think there's anything secretive about it. It's security information which is for the good of the people of Fafi. I can get it, maybe the timeline, Chair, if you give me the timeline so that I can comply.
Chair, if I can say something. First of all, I'm Rosa Kenyibuyu, Member of Parliament of Kisumu West Constituency. Chair, I think the response by the CS is arrogant. Arrogant and demeaning and dismissive. Really, if we wanted to ask the IG, we would have requested the IG to come here. But because he's in charge of that ministry, and a question had been given to him, we expected that he would get answers from his officers so that when he comes here, he gives a suitable answer. But to direct the Member of Parliament to go and call the IG, I think that's arrogant and not acceptable. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Maybe, Waziri, I think
you appearing before this committee and the committee asking you question to do with internal security. Yes, you are not the IG, but you are the policy head of that institution called national security. I don't want to travel that side. The question I want to pursue is that of Ijara and Fafi. The reason why you give NPR is because there is gap in security and the police are not enough to really do policing to protect lives and property. The fundamental question the Honorable Member should have asked, which I want to put to you, is there still need for NPR in those two constituencies where the problem of Al-Shabaab actually is current, it is also fluid, and it is existential, that some of these members are not able to travel freely in their constituencies just because of fearing for their own security. Maybe that is the line we want to pursue with you. Thank you, Chair.
Lastly, maybe you can.
Thank you, Chair. Through the Chair, Bonasias, if in Fafi and Ijara and all other border towns, if there were 21 NPRs and you withdraw 16, meaning there are only 5 remaining, according to me, that is suicidal, extremely dangerous. What measures do you have to curb the insecurity and the problems that we have in those areas?
Chair.
Sarah, then Balosi, then me.
The Chair, in regard with NPR, I think even as Waziri attempts to answer the question on disciplinary, I am a witness that NPR really helps in security. And I also don't dispute the fact that they should be vetted, trained, and equipped. But again, Waziri, they say justice delayed is justice denied. And in Swahili, they say ngoja ngoja uumiza matumbo. So if at all they have to do all those processes, they have to fast track it. Because as we continue to delay them, then the mwananchi continues to suffer.
Chair, Mwanasias, I think I also want to concur with my colleagues on the role played by the NPRs in securing the country. And I think for my colleague from Fafi, he would like to know, and I also would like to know, how long it will take to fast track this 16 the gap which we have now in that area, so that he can be able to tell his constituents. Thank you, Chair.
I think we should, so that Yakub, you have something to add?
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thank you, members, for coming in with that. I don't know why the Waziri was a bit dismissive of my whatever, but it's okay. The CS said the gap is known. It's 250. In fact, it's in its table because there's one time with the RC and 250 was recommended in 2023 January. Up to now, nothing was recruited in the entire Fafi. They only have 58 members, NPRs now in the entire Fafi constituency. 16 now gone. That's the situation in Fafi. The second thing the CS said is they were replaced by the 17 I mentioned. But now that he's saying this is an IG thing, I don't know whether I can continue with the question, because is he sure that those are the 17 to replace? Because these 17 were recruited in 2024, and the 16 were recruited in 2011. The 16 are in Galmagala division, close to Somalia border, controlled from there. The 17 were recruited by a base in Balambala, controlled by SOG camp in Balambala. So surely, is that a replacement? Or is two different forces in two different constituencies? It's not. That's why I said when I raised this question, I told you what we receive is a laptop answers. I don't know whether you will bring the IG so that we can ask these technical questions.
Maybe, Honorable Member, the Waziri is here because of your question. Ask the question and say what is the problem, so that we can
the question
get a solution.
Thank you, sir. The question I'm
maybe
asking,
just to guide Yakub, first, you have even noted that actually on basis of priority, we prioritize the question of Fafi because we appreciate how trouble it is. And in many occasions, you had even confided to me that you at times even don't even visit your constituency because of insecurity issues. So kindly just ask the question.
the question is,
Let me finish.
Yes.
If in a situation whereby you're not satisfied or the CS does not have maybe the response, we will of course agree with him to conduct his officers, that is of course the IG, and still furnish this committee with the responses.
Bwana CS, are those 17s who are now working with OCG Raya, is that a replacement or not? Because there are two different places, two different constituencies, 600 apart, 600 kilometers apart. That's the question. Then on the 17 itself, are you aware that out of these 17, 2 of them, because they are now on the payroll of the government as SOG workers from Raya, and they have no guns for the last 2 years. Are you aware that 2 of them have been hunted down in their homes and killed? And if yes, what action is the ministry doing in relation to that? Lastly, I asked you on the question of gaps. What is the gap of NPR? I just want you to go on record. What is the gap of NPR in Fafi constituency? And what is the ministry doing? And give me, please, some timelines which I can work with. Lastly, on the issue of interventions, you have noted down a lot of things. You have been in office now for 2 years. In your reign, Bwana CS, what is the number of NPR in the last 2 years and a half? You have in the 2 years and a half you have been in office. What is the number of NPRs you have recruited in Fafi? That's one question. 2. Are you aware that Galmagala is a police station with an OCS?
Was that part of the question?
No, it's part of the interventions. I'm just asking what he has done on the interventions.
Just to guide,
Yes.
You know, of course, when we do invite the CS or any other officer, we normally furnish them because, you know, they had also to ask from the other officers. So the issue of the police station was part of the question as well. So that we stick to...
I'm heading there. I want to ask him on the interventions because he said there's QRU formed, all those things. I want to ask him on the police stations, because this is part of interventions. There's a police station serving a whole division. Does it have a vehicle? It's an intervention. In the 2 years you have in office, do you have a vehicle in that police station? Have you, if not, what are you trying to do in that sense? 3, there's QRUs you have mentioned here. 2 of the QRU is Kindiki and Kamuthe, each one hosting 80 to 90 soldiers. Do they have vehicles for the 2 years you have been there? So I want a clear indication from your ministry for the 2 years you've been there. What exactly interventions have you done in terms of recruitment, in terms of provision of equipment to those soldiers which are there, in terms of vehicles on there? Have you ever done even a security road in that constituency? Is there a functioning airstrip so that it can serve even your soldiers in that area? And if it's not, what have you done in that? Whatever. Those are my interventions. The questions of interventions. Lastly, on the issue of abductions, you said you have, I told you, you have a list of those people who have intervention. Can you just give the committee the number of abductions on records reported by the constituents, abductions both by Al-Shabaab and suspected government agencies? The two abductions. List, just not the names, but figures, if you have. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Yakub. Maybe in 5 minutes, Waziri, you can attempt.
Chair, first and foremost, if my remarks appear dismissive of or arrogant to the committee, I want to apologize. That's the list of my objectives. Secondly, the issue of what the minister does, what the IG does, it was not to remove responsibility of any type from the minister, was to explain we have a constitution which creates independent offices and independent institutions, including parliament. And therefore, I just wanted to say that you don't expect the minister to micromanage the IG on operational issues, but if the information on operational issues is requested, I can get it from the IG. That was the point, strictly. But I cannot keep on telling him, deploy here, give this kind of firearm to this officer. Those are operational issues, and the Constitution gives him that leeway. Thirdly, the IG was in northern Kenya last week, the acting IG that time, to map out that area extensively, because we have real challenges there. Myself, I've been there overtly and covertly many times, so I have a fair understanding. I may not have the details that the Honorable Member for Fafi has, because that is his consistency. I may not have all the details, but I have a fair understanding, general understanding of the area, the needs, and so forth and so on. And I want to agree with the member and those who have spoken also in support that Fafi, Ijara, is one of the neediest areas we have at the moment. We've had other needy areas where the threat levels have significantly going down, and I've already said that area is where we are remaining with a great challenge among a few other areas. For example, a year ago, Boni, south of Ijara, Boni, Lamu, was a big headache. But right now, after we managed to put in a bit of operational and policy decisions, the place now is stable. I just wanted to assure the member and the colleagues team from that area that we are putting our efforts right now to make sure that we seal the gaps there. Around deployment, I agree. The NPR allocations for northern Kenya generally are quite small. There was a recommendation, for example, for Fafi for 250. But you see, that's a recommendation. It's number two, it is subject to availability of resources. And number three, what perhaps we could do is to expedite that process, which I want to undertake on behalf of the National Police Service. But what I may not support or agree with is the suggestion by the Honorable Member for Laikipia North that we do away with training. We cannot recruit NPRs and not train and equip them. Unless I didn't understand, I heard as if the member said she doesn't see the need of training. Unless
I said I don't dispute
okay, sorry.
the facts.
Sorry, I apologize. It's my mistake. So we will expedite. So in the next 14 days, we are going to review the situation there. Out of the need of 250, we may not have the resources to implement the 250 at once, and therefore we can start with 100 or so, see how that pans out, and maybe another month or two, we can incrementally meet the demand. even in the places where we have given a commitment for NPR, some of them have never been honored because of resource issues. For Isiolo, Wajir, I'm sure the member for Wajir is here, and so many other places. Even where we have given, we have not given the full complement. But I admit, I think that area, and perhaps that is the reason why that is the area now remaining, giving us a security headache, requires expedited focus, and I want to commit to the member and to the committee that in the next 14 days we will at least start with the deployment of about 100, expedite and look for resources for their training so that they can help us even as we meet the full need for that area.
Just for record, Waziri,
Yeah.
for clarity, so that probably we don't go back again, that is Ijara and Fafi.
We can do 100 for a start.
Yeah.
Because I also know we are constrained for budget, but given the need there, we need to do that. And then secondly,
And kindly,
on
maybe
vehicles.
as we do when Waziri,
Yeah.
the area where the 16 were discharged.
Yes.
Because, you know, this is a member who has been actually, we have been in contact for the last 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
I remember even the time we had the team led by Kenan of Northeastern team.
Yeah.
Where he actually was appointed the Secretary General. The same of Fafi has been an issue every other time.
It is.
So
It's
can
my
we consider,
yeah.
unless there is extremely compelling reason, to reinstate or to put the 16, which were
But we'll
dismissed?
work with local leaders and the police really have to work with the local leaders to assess where the most need should be, and I think there's no problem with assuring that. With regard to vehicles, about half of the police stations in Kenya do not have vehicles. Slightly, actually more than 50%. Because of resource issues. So we are really in a very delicate situation. Between the police and GAO, we need 5,200 vehicles. We just managed to get 1,000, which we have purchased, and they should be with us in about a month's time. And they have taken, Treasury took us rounds from as early as May. We had, and of course for good reasons, because they also didn't have the resources. So we negotiated downwards until we got the 1,000. What I can promise is that we'll prioritize the most needed stations, including the stations from the members' area. And I know many members here also have many police stations that don't have cars, the OCSs don't have AIE, and so forth and so on. The police equipment modernization program is what we want to use. And now that we have basic heavy hardware, and I think for the second and third year, we can invest more of our own usual security operations budget to take care of police vehicles, as opposed ordinary police vehicles or APCs for places like Ijara and Fafi. And then finally, I think, yes, that's it. The other things I remain guided on how to answer them, because some of them were not part of the statement. I may not have all the information on my fingertips.
To help those that, because time is really gone, and we still have got a number of members here. I think the last question was, do we have a number and the figures of the people who have been abducted by either Al-Shabaab or suspected government agency? I think that was the last question.
I think that was the last question, but I got the CS, he said he doesn't have those numbers. The reason I raised that question is to see the grimness of the situation, that my people are in fear. Either they're abducted by the government or by Al-Shabaab.
No, government
government
does not abduct people, Chair. Even the word abduction, what we refer to in security is missing persons reports. That is the official legal thing, because somebody comes and says, my son, my uncle, my neighbor was taken by unknown people. You know, it's a missing person report. And that information, I can also supply it within 24 hours, because there must be an OB. But, if the OB numbers and the number of people who have reported missing are needed, I can supply it within the next 24 hours as well.
Thank
Is it
you.
for Fafi or for the entire?
No, it was Fafi.
Just for Fafi.
Okay.
Thank you, Bwana CS.
So you can combine together with the number, the total of the deaths.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Bwana CS. And thank you for correcting me on legal terms like abduction or whatever. Those are the terms we use. But I just want, I thank the committee for raising these questions and bringing the CS on board on that. I'm very happy that, despite the fact that he was a bit abrasive, but I'm okay with that, and I hope there's no issues with that. I just want him to know that at the moment, my constituency is inaccessible. I have been a victim. I think you saw on TV that was attacked, especially in that place in Galmagala. I'm pleading with you as a CS, please give a special attention to Fafi constituency. I want you to, you said you have visited Fafi. I'm not aware of that. Maybe you have gone in a discreet way. I'm not sure of that. But I really want you to go to Fafi so that you can even feel the blood with me, so that you can sense how sensitive it is. Otherwise, thank you for the questions. I expect more from you, and I know you are up to the task and you can do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So before you go to the next third question, maybe we are going to give Kenan, just to have a second.
Chairman, initially when initially when I raised my hand, I wanted to ask my brother to withdraw that statement and apologize. It was more university, that earlier statement, but now that he has done, I think I'll leave it there. That's when I raised my hand, because that was completely outside our parliamentary practice. But secondly, this issue of Fafi, Oziri, and you know it, has dominated our regional agenda. I really want to plead with you. We all share the concerns of Honorable Salah. Generally, I must admit, there has been tremendous improvement of security in the region. I want to say it can be seen, it can be felt. But Fafi and Ijara have unique challenges. I really want to plead with you. Let's not leave the issues concerning Fafi and Ijara to this boardroom. I will suggest that you organize a meeting with the heads of the police, your office, because these two constituencies actually require unique attention. Whenever we have our regional caucus, the issue of Fafi, the issue of Ijara actually took our list. We have had, we went to Bura, the constituency headquarters of Fafi. And you can imagine the kind of protection. We flew from Nairobi to Bura. I've been to Somalia, I've been to many other parts of the world. You need to do a lot. So my request is what the Honorable Salah Yaqub has said is our shared concerns. Please assist him. Thank you, Chair.
So I think that was just complimenting and, of course, reinforcing what we said. So kindly go to the third question. We have already 11:13. Honorable, I don't know whether it should be Abdi Ali on the issue of brutal attacks of the headers in Gababa location.
Thank you, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members. I've been asked to tell the committee the steps that we are taking to apprehend the NPR's chiefs, AP officers who attacked herders in Gababa, location Ijara constituency, and also what we are doing to make sure this is not that does not recur, and the support being provided to victims of the injuries, and the measures we have put in place to address the issue of grazing rights and resource allocation around in that area generally. Honorable Chair, 13th August 2024, Mr. Said Komora, the chief of Zubake location, held a baraza at Mahono sublocation where there were farmers, there were Pokomo, involving Pokomo farmers from Tana River County and Somali herders from Garissa County. The agenda was about the conflict between farmers and herders, which is common in pastoral areas and other marginal areas of our country. But the meeting became violent, and as a result of that violence, two herders removed their spear with an intention to attack the chief. That prompted the NPRs, the two NPRs, who were armed with rifles, to fire 5 rounds of ammunition. In the process, Mr. Reso Mohammed was shot and he sustained gunshot wounds on both legs. He was rushed to Ijara Sub-County Hospital where he was admitted in serious condition. The action taken, Honorable Chair, is that the police reservists who were involved in the shootings were disarmed, as is the procedure in these cases. And the DCI Tana River Sub-County has commenced investigations. The case has also been taken over by IPOA, because as I said, misuse of firearms by a police officer is not part of government policy, and therefore IPOA, which is the independent agency that deals with those cases, is already investigating the matter. The two, and then the other issue is what we are doing to make sure that this is not repeated. Number one, peace building and reconciliation initiatives. We have instructed our Nga officers at higher levels to make sure that they revitalize the peace committees and elders to make sure that the community is there, the farmers and the herders continue coexisting peacefully. Number two, we are doing, of course, joint security patrols from by officers from the two counties, Tana River and Garissa. We have reviewed our intelligence gathering to make sure that before such barazas are held, we are able to ascertain the kind of issues that are likely to be emotive and prevent the escalation of emotions that will lead to violent attacks in cases like this. And then we are also in that area revamping our community policing arrangements and facilitating through, again, the peace building committees, the negotiation between the two groups, the farmers and the herders, some form of agreements which are very common in those areas. And we hope once the communities agree, we should not have an incident like this occurring again. In terms of compensation for the injury, and unfortunately we do not have any budget to compensate victims of crime. But maybe in the future, if we have budget, we could be assessing some of these cases and identifying possible cases for compensation. So the peace committees, Honorable Chair, have been facilitating mediation, and we hope after that mediation, we will have a peace agreement between those communities and reconciliation. And this is the same for other areas where we are having similar confrontations between farmers, herders, mainly around resources. So the grazing committees have been regularizing, regularizing some of the arrangements, and also we want to believe that this alternative dispute resolution mechanism is the key. Even if we will prosecute anybody who has hurt another or harmed another Kenyan, our experience in these areas is that alternative dispute resolution mechanisms, once communities agree, we will enforce them because they are more durable and more sustainable than the use of hard force. I submit.
Mheshimiwa, do you have got maybe a clarification further you need?
Thank you very much. For record purpose, my name is Abdi Ali Abdi, Member of Parliament for Ijara constituency. First, I want to thank the committee for the opportunity you have given me on this matter. I also want to thank and congratulate the CS for this new appointment and what he has given so far. But I just want to say that I'm not contented with the information the CS has given. First, I want the CS to understand that this is a matter that has been there for the last 60 years, since independence, because of the 3 Mile factor. And I know it's not within his mandate, but that's an issue that the ministry need to understand. This has been a problem that has been existing between Garissa County and Tana River, specifically the constituencies along the river. When the response the CS has given on the issues of, on the question of the steps that have been taken to apprehend and prosecute the officers involved and the administrator involved, he said very clearly that there were baraza that was called. You know where I'm talking from is a boundary issue. The baraza, the Zubaki location, it comes up to after even the river. And I have Gababa location, so we share the same. We have chiefs in Gababa. We have assistant chief in another sublocation of Gababa called Abdigure. We have DO division there. We have DCC there. So if the CS is giving me only the report on the other side, if there were barazas and there were herders involved, why is Ijara DCC not involved? Or the chiefs that were not, the chief from my side were not involved. I'm told that there's a baraza that will take place in this particular sublocation, which is in Tana River. Let us come together and do a peace building reconciliation. First, that information is fallacy. It's not there. And whoever gave that, because for a baraza to happen two constituencies or 2 boundaries, there must be a notice. There must be a written notice to the both constituencies. It's not there. I want the CS to share that notices. It's not there. So this was just a one side, and that has been the trend for the last 60 years, where the chief comes from the other side. If there's a problem, comes to this side, he doesn't involve the other chief. They continue doing their own things, come with an NPR, use NPR and police officers to intimidate my people. So when he's telling me the CS, there are only 2 NPRs. There were 8 NPRs and 2 AP officers and 2 chiefs. Because immediately that thing has happened, the OCS from Masalani rushed to the site. And we have the OB, number, everything is written. How the OB was written is how I put in my statement in the chamber. So let us not make it that this is a normal process that happened or there's a fight. There was an intention to intimidate my people, and this happens on daily basis. Just after this incident, another 2 incidents happened in that area. So I think we need to do further extensive investigation on this matter. What I want to hear from the CS is the issue of the chiefs. These chiefs have been there for the last how many years? What have you guys taken any disciplinary action? Because you have only told me NPR disarming. I'm not seeing any chiefs have been taken any disciplinary action. I'm not seeing. So this is a culture that has been continuing. And if you don't take action, the 2 communities, actually I'm done on the other side, I'm done who is spearheading peace. We have lost cows there, we have seen instances, over 50 goats were killed, were slaughtered, and put into the river, on the Tana River. And those goats belong to us. But what have we done? We have solved internally. But this matter now, already people who have lost lives. So I think I'm not contented with the statement on the steps taken. I want to see the chiefs taking action, the NPRs disarmed, and also the APs disarmed. Because if you don't do that, tomorrow they'll also come with NPR, because we are not in control. If these NPRs, they are being controlled from the other side. If there's a joint operation, why are we not involved in the DCC Ijara and the DCC Hall?
I think you've really made clear and passed your point. Yes. So maybe you can let the CS respond. But just to help us, I think actually your question on that, I think is very clear. The steps that are being, the statement that you sought, the steps that have been taken to apprehend and prosecute the NPR, chiefs, APs, officers. And I think the CS, if I heard him well, said is an issue being investigated by POA, which by law.
Excuse me.
Yes.
If you hear what the CS has said, he has only said two things.
Okay, he's here.
Yeah, he has said only.
Clarify, but for purposes of time.
Chair, please, just give me time. Mine, it has not even taken less than 5 minutes.
Chair regulates.
Yeah, I'm just requesting.
And I know you really passed your point.
Yeah.
Kindly.
No, I'm saying I have asked three questions: the NPR, the chiefs, and the AP. What the CS has given me, he told me NPRs only. Where are the chiefs? Where are the APs? That's my question.
Yes, you can respond.
For the APs, the use of force is between the internal affairs units of the police and the IPOA, and I've said already, the two are working on it. Before arrests are made, there must be an investigation file which is complete and which has evidence that can sustain charges in a court of law. But I want to accept the suggestions by the Honorable Member for Fafi that we need to do a little more. Make sure, I'm going to verify whether this peace building is involving cross-border participation. Because if it is not, then it is not going to yield the fruits we want. And I'm going to demand from our officers there in the two counties to ensure that it is done and file a written report so that we don't get anything wrong. But I really accept, that it has to be done properly because border issues can be very sensitive. They are long-standing issues. There are no quick fixes around it. And more than half of the counties of Kenya have this kind of very emotive and delicate issues that need to be handled well. I take the suggestions by the member of Fafi, and Ijara and Fafi, they are neighbors. I'm sorry for the confusion. The member for Ijara. Thank you.
So just on the same, I think, if I got him right also, carry investigation. If there are officers, the chiefs, who are in any way involved in the wrongdoing, so that, of course, they can also, matters of discipline can be
Absolutely.
Thank you, Chair. CS, I just want to pursue what Honorable Abdi there has asked. I think these are the sort of questions that should never appear before a parliamentary committee. This is a strong omission by the Ngao officers on the ground. If they quickly came together, the culprits were going to be arrested and taken to court. So for that reason, I think going forward, this is really administrative. It is not policy. It is not within the ambit of the Cabinet Secretary. So for that reason, it's good the question has come. But I think it's high time we start that differentiation of what should come before a committee and what should be settled on the ground by DCCs and county commissioners. Thank you, Chair.
Just suggestion.
And it's already 11:30, so I kindly ask members to...
One suggestion. Waziri, I've had the privilege of serving with many other former members of parliament. Actually, this is the 6th member in Ijara. This problem has been there. It is historical. You are the first occupant of that office with a legal mind. I'm not trying to impute any improper motive on your predecessors. Can you be reformist and courageous enough and face this problem of Ijara and Garissa, and you know the ingredients, for the sake of peace, tranquility, and posterity? Because the fear of the unknown is what has chairman, everybody fears. Nobody wants to make a decision. And in my culture, we say the worst crime one can commit is indecision. Can you be bold enough, courageous enough, Because you have the legal mind, you have the political support, you have what it takes, and we pray for you, and solve this issue. And you know what it takes to solve this issue? It was historical. Those historical issues are not there. Immediately after independence, you know what happened. The politics of Tana River, the politics of Somalia, you know the politics. Those things are no more. Nobody wants to go the other side. In fact, if anything, everybody wants to come the Kenyan side. So my plea to the minister is, be courageous enough, solve this problem so that the next member who will come after 20 years, I want him to, of course I don't want to interview with the people of Ijara, but I think he's doing very well. So that this young member can say in his reign, this problem between Garissa and by extension Ijara and Tana River has been sorted out by one progressive, candid, and strong minister. And you go on.
Sarah, what is it again, kindly, so that we move?
No, Chair.
Very high-ranking member.
I just want.
It's always valid.
I just want to say in 2 minutes that I support what Honorable Ras was saying, that the Waziri should put his foot down on his Ngao officers in both Tana River and Garissa, starting with the county commissioner down. Number 2, I want to give my unqualified opinion to my friend, the Honorable Member for Ijara, that even as we ask for government to intervene, as members and as leaders, we have a role to play. So I think, and I will plead that they sit with the member for the other constituency in Tana River and start their own conversation here, then take it down to their constituency. And Chair, I would beg to leave after this because you are going for the G7, and as the incoming governor of Laikipia 2027, God willing.
Best wishes, the G7s. Even Bui Rosa admission is going to the same. So Waziri, you can go to the next.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'll take it up with
To manage your time.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chair. Chair, the next one, the second last, according to my record, I think it's the second last, is from Taita Taveta. And the member for Undanyi would like to know the status of the investigations on killings of a number of boda riders and thefts of motorcycles in that county the past 3 months, the measures we are taking, the reason why these events are occurring, and what the strategies we are putting to make sure that we contain crime in that area. I respond as follows. We've had, during the last few months, about 7 cases. The first one, Frank Wanjala, deceased, 23 years old, a boda rider, was killed on 7th of August. A security guard actually, reported that he found a body with injuries, and the facts are there. The second one is Alfred Mwanyao, 30 years, who was also found dead in along the Mwatate Taveta Road with multiple cuts on their forehead. The third one, Joseph Kilango Mwanjala, 27 years old, reported on 4th July 2024. Number 4, Abdallah Mtongolo Bietim, again 3rd July 2024. In Voi, then Mengo Silas Silo, deceased, 1st May 2024, again in Voi. Number 6, William Mwaguda, again 38 years, was passed on at Wildlife Works, and the motorcycle was stolen. And number 7, Sylvanus Momela, 24 years old. The date is that, I think the date is not very clear there, but the details are provided there. Those are the statistics we have up to now for the last few months. With regard to the second issue, what measures we are taking, arrests, of course, where we can be able to identify suspects, increased police patrols within the county to deter the crime. We have asked the Taita Taveta County Policing, Taita Taveta County Security Team, which is chaired by the County Commissioner, to give us a roadmap on revitalization of community policing as a way of preventing these things. Most of these attacks appear at night, and therefore the support of communities, because they know their localities, through the policing, county policing arrangements, community policing arrangements are important. Then Ngao have been asked to develop also a long-term intervention mechanism. And when I looked at this statement, actually I spoke to the county commissioner and the county police commander. And I told them in the next week or two, I need a crime prevention and crime suppression strategy to make sure that we stop losing our young people in this manner, which has been reported quite repeatedly across Taita Taveta county. So I don't think at the moment we, perhaps maybe I can share that with the honorable member when that report comes, so that he can also help us to sensitize the community on what we need to do to contain this situation. The measures we have implemented immediate include enhanced enforcement of traffic regulations, coordinating with the county government also to ensure that we have an orderly border industry. We have encouraged riders to join circles for better regulation because this sector is facing a lot of challenges, because some of the riders have been implicated in crime, but also some of the riders have been victims of crime. So we need a bit of tidying up of the organizational and regulatory framework for them. And in the long term, we want to invest in data collection and in this industry and review the relevant policies and legislation. Already, I am engaging my counterpart in the Ministry of Transport because of the role of NTSA. And between NTSA and National Police Service, we want to come with a policy and legislative proposal for actually regularizing and making sure we create an orderly border industry which is free from crime, but also contributes to economic development, reduce the number of accidents that are a huge economic cost on the communities across the country, and also a strain on the healthcare system of the country, because there are hospitals which have dedicated wards for border related accidents of both passengers and riders. And therefore, Chair, in a nutshell, at the moment we are seized of this matter, and the County Security and Intelligence Committee of Taita Taveta has been told within the next 14 days at the latest, they must file a report. I said 7, but you know, because of the to and fro, maybe 14 will be a good time so that we can be able to share with the leaders there and support the suppression of crime in Taita Taveta County. I submit.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Waziri, for the
2 minutes kindly.
For the response. First, Chair, I want to just you to understand, and the Minister, that we are losing on average 2 young people in a month for the last 5 months. So far, I think the number indicated is 7. This one you're missing. The first one that was killed in April, Daniston Mwakio Mangombe, but particularly happened to be my cousin. So it was the first casualty. Then since April to date, we have lost another 7. So you can imagine every month, an average of about 2 cases. Waziri, since the cases started, there's no one that has been arrested in connection to murder. Out of the 7, all of them have lost their motorbikes, but there are other about 15 to 20 motorbikes that have been stolen, but the victims were not killed. So these 7 were killed. So I keep wondering whether this country, our intelligence is working, whether DCI is working. You know, cases, killings, and the same fashion. The bodies are dismembered, they are deep cuts, they're all, you know, brutally murdered. And when the first case happened, Chair, we spoke to the security operators in Taita Taveta. They said that was the last. Then the second one happened. They said it is the last. last Friday, we buried the most recent one, just last Saturday. So this, and when I sought for this statement, we were at number 5. Now we are at number 7. So Waziri, I think there's something that is totally broken down in terms of security and intelligence in Taita Taveta, which needs to be fixed. And one area that I want to say, Chair, you allow me, Waziri, remember when you were appointed the first time, you came up with an indication that police officers that have stayed 3 years in a station needs to be reshuffled. I think this is a high time that happens in Taita Taveta. Any police person who has stayed in Voi and in the larger Taita Taveta for the last 3 years, I think that's where we need to start. So that then we can start afresh. Because we can't be losing young people. Average 25 years. It is sad. And now that we celebrated the last one last week, I want to believe that this is the last, now that we are engaging. Because just call your officers to order, let them work. DCI, intelligence, and the entire security committee, let them work. Lastly, Chair, it's apparent that all these border guys have been at motorbikes on credit. When they're just about to finish paying for the loans, or they've just finished, is when the border get missing. So we're also asking your ministry to investigate whether these guys who lend to motorcycles to border operators, whether they know something about this issue. Because it is happening that all the borders are on credit, but they have 5,000-10,000 to finish, borders are stolen. And therefore, so that then if there is a connection, we need to call them into order. And lastly, when they sign for those agreements, they're told that the motorcycles are insured. But there's never compensation. They get stolen, and that is it. The families do not get any compensation. And lastly, okay, I've said lastly enough times, but I need to say this, that even as we do this, Chair, and I feel this statement is not, I know the capacity Waziri has. I think this statement has just been sent from either the county commissioner or the county commander. It doesn't look like it is a serious statement. Just saying border has to go join circles, border to, it doesn't have content. And I'm sure that's why, Waziri, when you looked at it, you called and asked for another report to be filed in 2 weeks. I want to request, Waziri, I think that kuna mchezo mahali. Because in the country, Chair, I've done some investigation. The whole country, for the last 5 months, we've lost less than 15 border operators. 7 of them are from Taita Taveta. So there's something in Taita Taveta that is happening that needs more, your eye in Taita Taveta. 7 out of 15 in the country, a small county, a peaceful county, there's a problem. Chair, there was a rumor, I don't see us to confirm, that there was a murder convict that escaped Manyani in March. And I did call Manyani, the in charge of Manyani prison, but I didn't get any information. But it appeared in some gutter press that there's a murder convict who happened to be he had committed murder a year ago in my constituency, and he was convicted for 30 years. The rumor has it he was in a gutter press somewhere, and people in the social media that he had disappeared. So I want you to confirm whether that is a position, and if it's a position, maybe that can be. Maybe there is a connection. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, we will, as the members observed and as also had told the committee, we are not at a position now to comprehensively address that issue. That's why I gave my team 2 weeks. But what I want to agree with the member outrightly now is the issue of the deployment we have in Taita Taveta at the moment. That's something we can administratively look at even as we wait for the report, both DCI and the NIS team there. On the question of our state officers, we started this exercise last year. 42,500 officers have been in one station for more than 3 years, contrary to government policy. We began the program of the transfers. We are halfway. We are about 26,000 already have moved because of their logistical issues. There are issues that come with these transfers and movements. But I want to assure the House that that policy is reversible and will be implemented to the full. Any officer who has served in one station for more than 3 years must move to another station. You cannot have a security officer serving in one area for 7 years, 10 years, 15 years. It is against public interest, and they make police officers part of the local community. They start opening bars and doing civilian things there, and marrying local girls and getting married to local boys. And you know, the police officer loses the integrity, the impartiality, and the esteem that he should carry themselves with. So I will perhaps engage the member further once that, and if the committee needs me maybe later on this,
these formed units. What we need is KPR. You had promised us, you had committed yourself in that meeting and severally that you are going to add more KPR. Remember again, these KPR are more capable. Let me just say that. Do not have because the right machinery that particular kind of climate, the nature of our environment cannot work with your formed units. They cannot. So please, if you want to support us on the issues of KPR, because you had committed yourself, and on the issues of Aro sub-county.
Try to summarize.
Aro sub-county, I'm ready to support. Let's have contributory effort on this matter of Aro sub-county. From the side of CDA, I've asked my committee to at least allocate some resources to this particular, to put infrastructure for this particular sub-county headquarter. So I want to appreciate, at least you are helping.
Anything to add, Waziri? For correction, it's supposed to be
I will
NPR.
take up the recommendations.
NPR.
Most of the recommendations, so we'll take it up with the member so that we see how to push the security agenda forward. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, we have got Waziri. We're supposed to be addressing the question of the Kenya-Ethiopian border, which is, oh, sorry? Oh, you want to add on? Okay, we have the member for Loima, and try to be considerate of time. I'm really getting worried.
Thank you, Chair. Waziri, my name is Proto Sakuja, Member of Parliament for Loima, and I want to take this opportunity to make a correction where you are mentioning Member of Parliament for Kacheliba constituency having a meeting with his counterpart. It is actually me. We have had 2 meetings in that particular corridor, and we are doing well. Chair, Turkana County has issues, serious security issues. And these serious security issues are contributed by the security team in that particular county. These guys, like what Member of Parliament for Taita Taveta said, the security apparatus in that county is not working. And I've been looking for you so that I can give you intelligence of what is happening there. The security is totally dead. They are not working. We have had several meetings with my counterpart and some elders, and we have told them to do a follow-up meetings to ensure that what we agree is being enforced, but they are never doing it. They have never done even 1 meeting, because we have an intra conflict between people of my constituency and people from his constituency. And I think, remember, we discussed about that. You even facilitated us 1 meeting. That follow-up up to today has never happened. So there's something to be done in Turkana County, right from the SEC to the county commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chair. I wished to also do a supplementary because our issues are very similar, and I felt that you should tackle all of them. So CS, first of all, congratulations for being appointed the CS for the 2nd time in 1 month. And it's because of the confidence that the President had in you. We also, as in you, we also have some confidence, not 100% of course, but you're doing your best and keep on doing the right work. And of course, the future is bright. I would wish to add some few similar questions to to Turkana County, since you know that the Kerio Valley, we are part of the Kerio Valley, we are part of the for the counties in the Kerio Valley. First of all, let me appreciate the operationalization of Kerio Valley sub-county. At least now we have the police, we have all the relevant security personnel, and they're actually doing a good job. However, CS, as you well know, that we are bordering Tiati along that area, yet we feel that they also needed a sub-county, and you've had it being said so many times by the leaders of Elgeyo Marakwet Baringo, so that we can cushion Elgeyo Marakwet from the attacks from Tiati, since if you leave the other side bare, and we know the sub-county headquarters from that place is very far. So it means that the whole burden is left to the sub-county and the security personnel in the side of Elgeyo Marakwet to deal with it. So if you can also give them a sub-county, it will be a plus, and it will actually help to reduce the attacks from the Tiati. They will prevent the bandits from crossing this side, and in case the bandits from this other side cross to the other side, there will be security personnel to counter. Number two, you have had a weakness. It might be a weakness, but a strength maybe you think of not engaging elected leaders. And many a times we always watch you on television that you have visited Elgeyo Marakwet, you were there and we were not there. I wish to request you that we also have some knowledge. We also have some influence, and we also have expectations. Our people expect us to see that we are talking about it and we are engaging with you. Kindly, if there is a leader who wronged you so that you might not want to engage them often, I'm different. At least engage me and other leaders of like-minded. But nonetheless, it might have been your strength, but at some point it can also be a weakness. Once in a while, we will not need you every week. If you do it once in 3 months, we will appreciate. Another question is, we have police stations in Elgeyo Marakwet. There's a particular police station called Chemista Police Station. This police station has been, there is a structure for that police station, but it is not gazetted, and there are no police officers posted there. I understand a while ago there used to be 2 AP officers, but they since left, and the police station is within a school compound. Last Saturday, there was an attack at 6 a.m. in the morning, and a local was killed there, and 3 weeks before that, there was another attack. CS, this is a police station that it is within a school compound. Those children in Chemista Primary School have themselves and God in heaven to protect them. I tried talking to the Commandant Limo, and he's doing a superb job, he's trying. But I realized also maybe he has a strain of the number of officers maybe that he can actually share. I am pleading with you, and I'm requesting that kindly, CS, if you can find around 5 officers, because that is a very expansive area, and you know it is along the escarpment, it is in the Hanging Valley, and it is actually a very good entry for bandits to Embolot ward. I am kindly requesting if you can consider gazettemen of that police station, or in the meantime, kindly post policemen to do the cushioning in that area. Number 3, there is also, when that particular person is called Stephen was shot, people collected a lot of cartridges. I would like to know how far is the investigation of that particular one. And in Elgeyo Marakwet, since January, we have lost 26 people. And none of them has been investigated. If they are doing the investigation, it is within, they have not shared with that, and no one knows, including the family members, that something or anything is happening. So kindly, CS, please, what are you doing about it? We need to see investigations. At least if the cartridges are there, they can be established so that we can know the source of the ammunition that the bandits are using. Last, additional NPR CS. Actually, the NPR are doing a good job. In fact, that particular area, the reason as to why, of maybe in the recent past, a few weeks ago, there has been numerous attacks, is because our NPR are undergoing training somewhere, and the area has been left bare. NPR has proved to be positive, and there is a good progress since we were given additional NPR. If you can still add us NPR, I'm not talking about Elgeyo Marakwet alone, but also my neighbors, maybe West Pokot and Tiati, if they can get a beef up of NPR, that will be okay, and we will appreciate an additional NPR, the CS. So thank you so much. If there is something that you can respond to it, I'll be more glad. Thank you.
So that's so I can really also I'm watching on the watch on the clock. So maybe
thank you very much.
Add 1 minute.
Chairman, I think with your indulgence, the last question on Marsabit, a lot has been done by the ministry already. And last week, with the leaders of Marsabit were able to, all of us, including the governor and the senator, we sat with the minister. And a lot of work has been done on the ground. So for that reason, because of time, we can reschedule that. Maybe we handle the question of Honorable Kainan. But before I leave the mic, I want to say the following between Turkana and West Pokot. I was privileged to lead the committee that went to West Pokot and to Turkana. And I think, Waziri, what is really disconcerting is when you go to Turkana and West Pokot, it's as if you are between two countries, that other side, this other side. And I think during your tenure as the Minister for Interior, that notion must disappear. This is Kenya and these are Kenyans. The idea of this imaginary boundary, as if these are two neighboring states, must really be done away with. How should that happen? One, there must be intensification of coordination between the Ngao from both sides, the Turkana, so that they do regular meetings to make sure that these issues of raids and counter raids actually must be eliminated. The second issue is this issue of expansion by arms, where one community is able to expand into the area of the other. And what I have seen is that the Ngao officers, they generally know the administrative boundary, but they intentionally refuse to pronounce themselves to that, which I believe is a serious omission. And they must say that this location you have gazetted is in another area, so that you don't do it. Because when you are in the office, when you approach you, I think you do a lot of things in good faith, that you trust the leaders who are sitting here. Finally, there was something about identified criminals. Criminals are identified by name, where they are involved in this raid, that raid, but they are not being actually caught and brought before the law. It is just names with the CID, the police, and all that. And to an extent, these are things which have allowed impunity to reign large. And that is why I think we must deal with some of those issues so that the members or the communities do not feel that we have been left to our own devices. Let us arm to protect ourselves. The issue of NPR, I think going forward, while it is doing good for now, it is not solution to Kenya's security as a sovereign state that is able to protect its internal borders. It simply means we must invest in the police services. Thank you, Chair.
Members, kindly, I had earlier told you that the Waziri will be attending another meeting, which is already like 40 minutes late. I will kindly ask you, kindly.
Chair, I just wanted to...
Because we had already, like I know the member, kindly.
Mine, Chair, was just to commend, but also you sent me to West Pokot on Saturday, and we were expecting Waziri there. And people are very mad. They said he has not been to West Pokot since he entered the docket. I don't know whether the second time, but Waziri, it's just a request that despite the events of June and July, which indeed seem to have, I don't know whether that's the reason you've slowed down your pace. Waziri, keep up.
So kindly, Waziri, I'm really feeling guilty of the other members. They actually even writing me a lot of text messages.
If
so
you
just
protect
respond in a minute.
me, I'm okay, because your sister committee, the Committee on Defense, has been waiting for me, and
Maybe something what they said, but then we address the last thing. If we are in agreement, we can defer the issue of Kenya-Ethiopian border.
Actually, we had a very healthy discussion.
Yes.
I've told them where we are.
Yeah.
I was even a bit uncomfortable for us to air it out, but the member can brief the other members because of certain sensitivities. But we are making very good progress.
Member being not there and being a member actually from the same area and in confidence is really shared what the ground that has been covered. We can leave that one. If need be, we reschedule. So just comment on what they said. And lastly now, we have the big issue of the missing MCA for, which one is that? Dela. I know you did give a response. I read in the House.
Yeah, before he does it, can I respond very quickly in 2 minutes? All the other issues that have been raised by member for Loima and the member for Elgeyo Marakwet and my brother, the member for Teso North. The one on Marsabit, if we reschedule, I will request we do it in camera. The other one on the issues raised by the member for Loima, I think I need to engage you a little more. And I'm sorry for confusing me with your brother from Turkana South. Thank you for what you're doing. We'll continue supporting that initiative by the leadership. I will have an engagement with you. We see what adjustments we can make on the deployments of our officers there so that we tighten up the space. With regard to the member from Elgeyo Marakwet, she raised quite a number of issues. We have operationalized Kerio Central, Kerio Valley sub-county, which now is helping. Koloa is next, or Tiati Central. Actually, at 1 p.m., I'm meeting the member for Tiati in the office, just to finalize a number of things. So we are on process, and we want to be fair, and because it's about the country, it's not one side against another. And that brings me to the other issue raised by the vice chair of this committee. Some of the challenges we face from communities and leaders as security people is this territorial notion about, like there's an extreme territorial independence notion which actually works against the long-term national interests of having a united, indivisible country. Unless we moderate our, of course, community interests with national interests, we are going to make it impossible for the people of Kenya to move, work, live, and interact with the rest of people. And that's a discussion this committee and us as the policy makers needs to engage in before it runs us out of town. When I travel to northern Kenya, I find many communities. I find Somalis, I find Wakamba people, I find Kikuyus, and they are working, they are doing their things, and there are no many issues. But when we amplify and look as if those people don't need to be there, and that's not where they're supposed to be, then we are endangering the long-term interests of the nation. That's something we can have a discussion on in a more long-term manner. And that underpins some of the struggles we are having in the banditry-prone areas. And administrative boundaries need to be clear, I agree, for purposes of administration and services, but not to say this is the county for this community versus the county for this community. That's dangerous for the country. And so I agree, when I took over the ministry in phase 1, the situation in northern Kenya, Boni Forest, was extremely volatile, and I made very many trips without involving local leaders, deliberately. First, it was very emotive. It was also very risky, some of the places I was going, and therefore it was not feasible. Okay, it was not feasible. But I think right now we're in a good place. The operation is still on, but then the intensity, the volatility is less. I would be more than happy to have leaders together with us so that they own the process and help us expedite some of the interventions we are making. By that time, it was not possible completely. And also, when you have serious security issues, political leaders tend sometimes to support some of their people because some of the criminals also have votes. But I know responsible leaders will always say, vote or no vote, community and country first. And therefore, we will be involving leaders going forward a little more, maybe not in all cases, because some visits are operational in nature. They do not even, sometimes I've been in your county and I will not have a public engagement with members of the public at all. I'll visit the teams in the front line, have a discussion with them around operations and leave. But I hear you. Then on the question of that police station, please, Mheshimiwa, please write what you want done to me. It will be done. We will do what you want done. On the question of how far we are on the investigations, I was not anticipating this. Maybe I can find out, and as we engage, I can update you on this particular matter, because it was not part of the statements I'd been asked to respond on today. On more NPRs, I agree, and I also agree with the Vice Chair that the long term is to make sure the police, not the reservists, the police secure the nation. But at the moment, as a short-term measure, the NPRs, because of the advantages which were identified, are doing a good job. We are constrained. We cannot give all the requests. I know Marsabit has a request, Wajir has a request, Tana River has a request, but we'll try and make sure that we continue enhancing the capacity of NPRs. Then that's on NPRs, and then there was the issue of, from again the Vice Chair of the committee on criminals who are known, action not being taken. Actually, we've made a lot of progress. Example is Elgeyo Marakwet. We had 7 bandit commanders who were responsible for mayhem in Elgeyo Marakwet. And right now we are looking for only 2. The others are in court. The others fell as they tried to shoot at our officers. So we've made a lot of progress. It's only that security communication is sensitive. And if I sit with the leaders, I'll tell you, we had on our radar 7 major organizers of banditry. We are now looking for 3. 4 are either in court with cases ongoing. Others, when they were engaging the police officers, they were neutralized. I agree there is more to be done. Completely. There is more to be done, because unless you destroy the network of the enablers of sophisticated crime, you will be doing something and repeating yourself and over again. Finally, the member for Teso North, who did not declare interest, that he was also my student sometime. It's good to declare so that so that you are not accused of bias. I've been to West Pokot 3 times, but not after my reappointment, before. I can say this without fear of contradiction. I have visited all the 47 counties of the Republic of Kenya. some multiple times. Some 7, 11, 14, 20. The highest is Lamu, where I have been 21 times in 21 months. Mainly in operational visits and covert visits, very few public. So I have been to West Pokot. I have provided NPRs for West Pokot County, a good number. They were trained, deployed, just as I've done for Elgeyo Marakwet and other counties. And maybe the leaders were saying after my reappointment, they wanted me to come. Last week, I was told I was expected somewhere. I was not invited. I didn't get the invitation. I was just told I was being expected somewhere in West Pokot. I didn't get the letter, and it is true. Dealing with the aftermath of the attempted overthrow of the Constitution of Kenya by criminals and dangerous people who almost burnt the Parliament of Kenya. We have a job to do, and we are not going to relent. I know there are people who want to politicize that exercise. We will be extremely firm